Hello, everyone. So this is our second part of our sustainability and exit plan. So I did have a chance to go over many of your sustainability and exit plans, and in many of the cases, I had a chance to sit down with you one-on-one. What this is intended to do as a presentation, give you a bit of an update, but then ask you to go back and make some revisions using some new ways of thinking and formatting. So I like to go over those and then have you move forward from there. So again, we're going to be keeping to our sustainability exit plan. I'll be writing up a section here where we're going to be talking about the framework. How did we get here? How did we go through the process? Who did we consult? Then I'm going to kind of have a very simple table. Probably it's right now 2 pages. It may go to 3, but I'll probably try to keep it to about 2 pages. This is going to be kind of a summary of our exit strategies, so it won't be as comprehensive as the others. Now, in our last document that we put together, it did come out to around 53 pages, so we'll look at that. But what I do want us to do is really focus on updating those annexes, and that way we have a better sense of what we need to do as we go forward, and that's what we're going to look at. So I'm going to do a little split screen here. And it's going to have a chance here for us to look at the template, but then also for us to look at these kind of guidance that I've kind of provided. So what you'll kind of notice here is I've made some slight changes to the format. It's not the only reason I'm having you redoing this, but I'm actually having it because there's kind of some fundamental different ways that I'd like us to look at some of the components. But the biggest difference here is removing this sidebar that was here on the left-hand side. All those merge cells proved to be very, very difficult to then align across the 4 different ones. So that's one reason I'll have you work on this. But really, it's more than that. So what I'd like us to do is go through and take a look at it. Now, I'm going to bounce between this blank version. And then one of the things I decided to do is really kind of do a bit of a deep dive. I've selected one sustainability plan to kind of look at. And then I thought once we have a better sense of this, it'll give you a sense to use this as an example for the template. So again, a few things here. As you'll see above here, I'm going to refer to different sections. There's the upper, so I'm kind of referring to this blue table here. Then I want us to talk about the vertical, which is what do these mean? What must be in place? Project steps, timelines, and benchmarks. And then I've written the next section, which I'm calling horizontal. Backward is resources, capacity, motivation, and linkages, and how we're going to fill out there. So let's start with the upper section. So for the upper section, written up something here. One, if you haven't seen the video that we did before, which I believe the majority of you have, I'd encourage you to look at that. So when we have some examples of inherently lasting, phase out, and phase over, I'm just going to ask if people can say phase over to, and then name the institution that you're phasing over to. Now, it's not going to be that all cases things are going to be phased over to something, and we should be clear about that. What is the motivation it may be phased out to, or is it inherent, or is it okay if we just kind of phase out a particular activity but emphasizing the continuation of a particular behavior? So here we have key actors for this activity and total count. So right now we have key actors for this activity and total count. In this case here, I've just suggested 21 agri-dealers. So these are really talking about an entity that we're already supporting. It's like a livelihood group or maybe agri-dealers as examples. And this gives us here. Now, I don't want you to be overly concerned about the number. If you don't remember the exact number of LG groups, that's okay. But if you do have an idea, for instance, number of agri-dealers, financial service providers, this is a good place to list it. Then we have here is that who are the key actors? And so I'd like you to do this here. In this case here, we identified agri-dealers. We're at a cooperative office and the agricultural rural development office there. So those are the examples. Now, what you can see here is we have the actor numbered, 1, 2, 3, and then underneath it, we actually have what role do we think they're going to do? And I would ask if you can keep this to starting with the verb in the simple tense. So in this case, sell, link, share, maintain, provide, not selling or a noun, but sell inputs to PSMP clients. I'd like you to put those in. So we all have a sense of, at the end of the project, what do we see these different actors doing? Now the question is what do we need to have things in place by that time? So this here right now, I think is all these kind of right here are really important on how we think about them. Excuse me. So what do I mean by that? Well, one is, I want you to kind of, as I've highlighted here, in your mind, imagine something that you can visualize, then write it in a simple sentence. Yeah. So examples out here is eligible agri-dealers have received obligated agri-dealer fund and used to upgrade facilities. Or agri-dealers have business management and marketing skills. You can see I've listed this twice because we'll talk about this later on. We have two activities we're going to be doing to do that. Or we can do a merged version over here, allow you that flexibility. So as you can see here, it really has a noun and then kind of showing an example. So again, agri-dealers sell agricultural inputs to PSMP clients. Women use literacy and numeracy skills to secure senior positions in LG management committees. Another example could be PSMP clients secure loans by financial service providers. So as you can see, a simple sentence, but a sentence nonetheless where we can see who the actor is and what are they doing at that time. Yeah. Now here is where we're going to ask you to put your activities. And I'm going to ask that we don't get too complicated, but try to keep this pretty straightforward. People had lots of activities before. I'd ask if we can try to simplify those, just because as we look at the time we have available, I want you to be strategic. So again, same thing here is, using a verb, simple present, as an example, provide, evaluate. Let's talk about it. For timelines, if you can use this standard of the fiscal year and the quarter. And then I'd like you to, that's what we're here. And then we also have the benchmark criteria. This is kind of an indicator showing how are we doing. So where possible, we want to really show an end result. So if you noticed here, we haven't had like number of loans or number of, or percentage of agri-dealers have completed all requirements, as much as showing the outputs, number of agri-dealers who meet agri-dealer matching standards and receive full grant. Yeah. So try to simplify these, and wherever possible, try to use an existing indicator if we're already tracking that on our DIP, so we're not adding too many more to our systems. All right, so now let's take a look at resources. Yeah. So resources are really, I want you to think about something that's physical or a financial. So it's not that committees have the capacity to do something. This is actually what do they need to have in hand. So in the case here, agri-dealers should have upgraded their facilities. That's a physical and a financial resource that is required here. For capacities, I'd like you to say what do they have or how are they using it. So let's think of this example. We don't want to say LG groups have capacity. No, what we want to show is, for instance, agri-dealers have business management marketing skills, or LG management committees convene regular meetings, enforce LGO bylaws, and manage disputes. Yeah. So I don't want us to use the word capacity. I want you to show what they're actually doing. For motivation, let's be kind of clear about what is the motivation we're expecting here. So profit is probably the major motivator that we can think of. But we've also recognized there's recognition, which is really important, and also self-direction. What I mean by that is, for recognition, these peace ambassadors may not receive financial support to continue doing some of the work, but they may be able to still move forward by getting words of praise, recognition, or even future potential ways of building their CVs. Yeah. And then I have an example here. Self-direction would be, as PSMP plant homes against to provide affordable and nutritious food for consumption needs. Yeah. So you can see this is something that is going to benefit them because it goes back to affordable and nutritious. All right, for linkages, I want you to think about what is the linkage and what do you see as the outcome of that linkage. So here we have what linkages to other institutional groups need to happen for what reason. For example, agri-dealers have relations with suppliers so they can purchase agricultural inputs, or financial service providers work with loan recovery funds to ensure repayment of loans. Now, you'll notice I underlined this. I'm doing this only for this example. I would ask that you don't underline them in your actual text here. Okay? So that's an example. Then lastly, as I want us to think about is, one is to note that we don't need to put a sustainability plan for everything. So there's some that we may not, it's not very likely that actors are going to continue using our curriculum to provide trainers. That's very resource intense, and it requires probably an unreasonable expectation of commitment from another party. However, what we can do is really understand that we want those behaviors to continue. All right. And then lastly, we've made the decision, I've had this done in consultation with Getahun, is we're not going to have a separate section for innovation funds. So instead, we want to show how our investments are sustaining that value chain. So one could be is households save money at household. One of the activities that we need to complete beforehand is ensure that households are using coin boxes. It's not a good example, but we need an activity there. So it should be ensure, it should be evaluate whether households are using coin boxes supported under Innovation Fund. So I will provide more direction on this in an email, but do note that I am going to now include this table under each of these different components. And I will also share with you what you've already submitted so you can carry those over, or not carry those over, use those as a foundation for you to make adjustments. Thank you very much.